Since most of my clients are retired or about to be within the next couple of years, I typically am focused on creating a plan, trying to take as much risk as I can out of it, at the same time looking to have their money grow and being flexible. In other words, having options and choices as we plan for the predictable and for the what ifs. But sometimes I overthink it and I forget some of the most obvious questions. One of them being, how do I get paid? And as much as this seems like such an easy topic, I may get to the point where they're just about to retire and actually don't always address that. So that's something I'm trying to work on. Because, yeah, we've talked about their lifestyle. They may want to spend more time at the beach, at the golf course, or maybe even to them, an ideal retirement is just staying home reading a book by the fire. But when it comes right down to it, I've gone through this stuff many times, and for most people, this is their first venture through the looking glass, if you will, into another type of lifestyle. So, bottom line, to sum it up without getting into too much detail on this video, you're building an income around what they're used to living with. So, in other words, normally people get a paycheck every couple of weeks and they have already figured taxes into it, et cetera, et cetera. So I work to try to replicate that. So we work with, let's say they get Social Security on the second Tuesday of the month. And then they either a pension or an annuity, for example, that typically is a monthly payment. So let's say we have that scheduled for the fourth week of the month. And if they need more, we turn that on from their other investment accounts. But bottom line is, it's easy to structure an income flow to replicate what you're used to having. In the first year, we have a pretty good idea of what to take out for state and federal taxes ahead of time, which again is something a lot of people, they're not aware of, that we can actually replicate what's happening in their paycheck so that their take home is about the same. After a year, when things settle down, and I've talked about this in another video, we can kind of create a baseline and get an idea of future years to get a pretty good tight handle on what type of tax withholding to have. But that can all be taken care of ahead of time and be flexible so that even in the course of the year, if we need to make a change, we can. So it's easy enough to get paid. I don't always think of it top of mind. I'm thinking more into the weeds and thinking about the details. But it teaches me a lesson that sometimes I have to get back to looking at things through my client's eyes and making sure I address some of the most basic needs and the most basic questions.